Hare ISKCON founder Caitanya Prabhu ki Namaste Srinivas Thakur ki Dev se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Aditya Shivas Ali Gaur Bhakti Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shyamchandra Radha Kundu Niraj Govardhan ki Pujatam Ketra Jagannath Puri Dham ki Mayapur Dham ki Mangla Bhaiya ki jai Durga Maiya ki Devi ki jai Tulsi Maharani ki jai Vrindavan Mathura Ram ki jai Shamakata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai Gaur Brahmanande all
Very good.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Welcome, all the devotees. Thank you for joining us on this long weekend. Come here to the Hare Krishna temple to have the association of Srila Prabhupada, Shri Munitai, Shri Radha Hari, Shri Jagannath Baladev and Subhadra, and all the assembled devotees. I hope that you're happy here at the Hare Krishna temple. Wonderful kirtan. We're going to fill the night. This program, the Sunday Peace program, is designed around chanting the holy names together, hearing about Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, His qualities, and honoring Krishna's prasada. So the next part of our program is Jabba. Now we've been doing this for the last couple of weeks, and we're going to continue doing this. So if you have Jabba beads at home, we ask that you bring them with you. And therefore, the beads that we have here, we can pass out to guests. As time goes on, more and more guests will come. And this is a practice that we want everybody to do. As I look around the room, I think that most of you know this practice of Japa. Those of you that don't do it every day, we invite you to try at least one round a day. The holy name of Krishna is not different than Krishna. This is a key principle in understanding Krishna is the absolute truth. The name and that which is named are non-different. Therefore, when we say the name Krishna, Krishna is actually present before us. In the same way, we bow down before the deity because we understand that the deity of Krishna is not different than Krishna himself. In the same way, we should chant the holy name of Krishna with full attention, understanding that it is non-different than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, there are many differences in this world. You can talk politics with somebody, and they're going to get different political viewpoints. You can talk about where's the best place to travel. Now, one person will say, I think this part of the world's the best. Another person says, no, you have to come to this part of the world. You may ask, what is the best sports team? People will have all different opinions. What is the best movie genre? People will have different opinions. Maybe it's horror, maybe it's drama, maybe it's romance, maybe it's comedy. But the one thing that is universally accepted by sages amongst all religious practices is that the holy name of the Lord is the most sublime and effective way of approaching God. So we want to follow in the footpaths of the sages and take to this practice of chanting the holy names of God seriously. And as I mentioned, as I look out at the audience, and it won't always be like this, as more and more people start coming back to the Sunday feast, we'll have more people that aren't familiar with this practice of chanting. So let us take this opportunity as we are together and assembled together to chant with concentration. We chant at home, probably by ourselves. This is an opportunity to chant here together in an assembly. Now, we're going to do something a little different than we did the last couple of weeks. We're going to play Srila Prabhupada, and I'm going to ask that we align ourselves with the chanting of Srila Prabhupada. So we'll chant in the same rhythm or the same speed and the same you understand, the same mantra as Srila Prabhupada. And in this way, we'll all be chanting together in a certain unison, and we'll feel connectedness amongst ourselves. So today is a very special day. It's the disappearance day of one of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's key principal associates, Srivas Thakur. His Grace VishnuGada Prabhu will be speaking about the glories of Srivas Thakur right after our Jabba practice here. But before we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, it is highly recommended that we call out the names of Lord Caitanya and his associates, which includes Srivas Thakur. This will help give us not only the blessings of Lord Caitanya, who is the most merciful incarnation, who came to give Krishna through the form of the holy name to everybody, regardless of qualification. So on today, let's call out to the Panchatattva before we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Now we're going to chant it 3 times, and then we'll play Srila Prabhupada. Now, the first time I'll chant and you repeat. The next 2 times we'll just repeat together. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya.
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya.
Prabhu Nityananda.
Prabhu Nityananda.
Shri Advaita.
Shri Advaita.
Gadadhar.
Gadadhar.
Shivasadi.
Shivasadi.
Gaura Bhakta.
Gaura Bhakta.
Let's do it together. Jai Shri Krishna
Jai Shri Krishna
Chaitanya.
Chaitanya.
Prabhu
Prabhu
Nityananda.
Nityananda. Shri Advaita Gadadhar. Shivasadi. Gaura Bhakta. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya. Prabhu Nityananda. Shri Advaita Gadadhar. Shivasadi. Gaura Bhakta. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare
Hare Krishna. I hope that was a nice experience for you all. Just the resonating of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra in the air, going through the ears. Srila Prabhupada said it's actually very easy. You just have to hear. You don't have to think. Just hear the name of Krishna. Because Krishna is not different than his name. You don't have to think of anything highly philosophical. You don't have to meditate on anything. Just be present and hear. So Mother Jagannath Priya, she is collecting beads. We request those that didn't bring their beads and have them at home to please bring them. Those that don't have them, Mother Jagannath Priya has a store right outside, and she can sell you some so that you can take them home with you and practice this every day. We also sanitize those beads, if anybody is wondering, the ones that we pass out, so to make sure that they're safe for everyone. At this point, we like to introduce His Grace VishnuGada Prabhu, who will be giving the Sunday Feast talk on the special disappearance day of Srivas Thakur, one of the principal associates of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. So please help me give a warm welcome to VishnuGada. Hare Krishna. So one nice way, the clapping is nice, but one of the hardest things for a speaker is to have a big gap in front of them. So if you're sitting on the ground, on the floor in the back, if you're sitting in a chair, that's fine. If you sit in a chair, that's good. But if you're sitting on the floor, if you can move forward, that'd be a lot better.
Social distancing understood.
So,
Thank you. Thank you. It's very nice to see you. It's very close by. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Okay. Yeah. Some people, some devotees came all the way from Central Georgia, Maryland. Very nice. So usually on class, before class, we follow Srila Prabhupada, who usually chanted Jai Radha Madhava. Yeah. But because today is the disappearance of Srivas Pandit, Srivas Thakur, who was a member of the Panchatattva. We'll talk a little bit about the Panchatattva. But I thought we could chant the Panchatattva Mahamantra. You're familiar with the Hare Krishna Mahamantra? This up there is a different thing. I think this is Panchatattva Prakam Krishnam, is it?
Yeah.
We're going to chant Jai Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda. That's the Panchatattva Mahamantra. And then we'll do this verse as a lead into the class. Okay? So, I think almost everybody knows the Panchatattva Mahamantra because you repeated it just before. Jai Shri Krishna, I say, you say, okay? Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya.
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya.
Prabhu Nityananda.
Prabhu Nityananda.
Shri Advaita.
Sri Advaita. Gadadhar.
Srivas Adi.
Srivas Adi.
Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
So, as I think Dronacharya Prabhu explained, in chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, there are 10 kinds of offenses. So even if you go on chanting and you try to chant every day regularly, but if you're committing those offenses, the progress is very slow. To get the goal of, do you know what the goal of chanting Hare Krishna is? Anyone?
Go back.
Yes, yes. And really it's to Krishna Prema, to develop love of Krishna. So it'll take a long time, but in chanting the Panchatattva Mahamantra, Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda, there's no offense. So usually before chanting Hare Krishna, in temples, in Hare Krishna temples everywhere, we chant Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. It clears the way, so when we chant Hare Krishna, it's more effective. You see? There's a process for everything. So we'll chant this a few times. We don't chant Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda for the whole time. No, just a few times. And then the main chant is the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. But Mukund is going to play nicely. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi
Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Jai Om Prabhupada, Paramahamsa, Paribrajak Acharya Ashtotara Sata Shri Srimad, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai.
Jai.
ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai.
Jai.
Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai.
Jai.
Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki jai.
Jai.
Vrindavan Dham ki jai.
Jai.
Navadvip Mayapur Dham ki jai.
Jai.
Ganga Mai ki jai.
Jai.
Jamuna Mai ki jai.
Jai.
Tulsi Devi ki jai.
Jai.
Bhakti Devi ki jai.
Jai.
Gaur Premanande.
Hari Hari.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glory to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga Hari Hari Bo. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Itinamate. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pucharine Nirvishesha Shunyavani Paschatya Deshatari. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jai Gaur Bhaktivinoda.
Jaya Datta Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jai Gaur Bhaktivinoda.
Jaya Datta Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jai Gaur Bhaktivinoda.
Jaya Datta Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Can you see the verse up there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is we chanted the Panchatattva Mahamantra. This is another prayer to the Panchatattva. Panchatattva Krishnam.
Krishna.
Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam.
Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam.
Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam.
Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam.
Namami Bhakta Shaktikam.
Namami Bhakti Saktikam.
Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam.
Panchatattva Krishna.
Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam.
Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam.
Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam.
Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam.
Namami Bhakta Shaktikam.
Namami Bhakti Saktikam.
You chant.
Panchatattva Krishna. Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam. Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam. Namami Bhakti Saktikam. Panchatattva Krishnam.
Panchatattvatmakam Krishna.
Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam.
Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam.
Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam.
Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam.
Namami Bhakti Saktikam.
Namami Bhakta Shaktikam.
Panchatattvamakam Krishna.
Panchatattvatmakam Krishna.
Bhakta Rupa Sarupakam.
Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam.
Bhaktavatar Bhaktakyam.
Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam.
Namami Bhakta Shaktikam.
Namami Bhakti Saktikam.
One more person, one more.
Panchatattva
Krishna. Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam. Bhaktavatar Bhaktakyam. Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. Very good. Panchatattva. Yeah, very good. So Panchatattva, I don't know if they're going to show. Panchatattva, you know what that means? 5 truths. 5 Pancha. Srila Prabhupada, he translated it in the when he was translating this in writing this part of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he's called Lord Chaitanya in 5 features. Remember that? Lord Chaitanya. So this is Lord Chaitanya. Panchatattva. Tattva means truths. And Panchatat Atmakam. Krishna is the supreme truth. Krishna. Bhaktarupa Swarupakam. Bhaktarupa means, and now that same Krishna has taken the form of Bhaktarupa, means what? Yeah, as he's appeared as his devotee. Swarupakam. Swarupakam. His first expansion. Swarupa is the first expansion of the Bhaktarupa. Then Bhaktavatara. Bhaktavatara means he's appeared as an avatar and also as a bhakta. Bhaktakyam. Bhaktakyam. Anybody know what Bhaktakyam means? I didn't know either. I had to look this up. So it's devotee. Yeah. Akyam means called or named as bhakta. Called the devotee, or in this case, and then Bhakta Shaktikam. Bhakta Shaktikam. The energy, the Shakti of the devotee. Yeah. So who are we talking about in this verse? Lord Chaitanya in 5 features, right? So Lord Chaitanya himself, Bhakta Rupa. Then Svarupakam is Svarup, the first expansion of Lord Chaitanya is Lord Nityananda. Bhakta Rupa. Svarupakam is Lord Nityananda. Bhaktavatara. Who's that? Bhaktavatara. Advaitacharya. Yeah. This is the science of God. This is the science of God. Did anybody ever do a Rubik's Cube? I never did, but maybe you did. It's a little tough, right? You've done it. Were you successful? What's that? Long time back, but not recently successful. Yeah, because it's a complex task, right? And most people don't have the patience to get into it, right? And most people, and even if they do, they're not successful. And that's just a crummy little material task. What to speak of understanding the most complex being in all the universe. This is the science of God. So this is elaborating, this is giving details about the science of God. So we were talking about Bhaktavatara. Bhaktavatara, there's the original person is Krishna. Then he expands himself as Balaram. And in the Chaitanya Leela, Brajendra Nandana J, Sachi Sutta Hoilo Se, Balaram Hoilo Nitai. Okay. So in Krishna's Leela, there's Krishna and Balaram. But in this Kali Yuga, Krishna doesn't appear as a full incarnation, but he appears as a covered incarnation to show how to engage in devotional service. Why is that? Because in Kali Yuga, you and I, we become so materialistic that if Krishna showed his full form as Bhagavan Shri Krishna, everybody would try to imitate him, thinking they're God. And it happens, even though he didn't do that in Kali Yuga, still, people are trying to imitate and say, oh, I'm Krishna. So he comes in this bhakta form. So the first expansion of Krishna is Balaram. The first expansion and that same Balaram is Nityananda. Good. Then Balaram expands as 4. Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Aniruddha. That Sankarshan expands as Narayan. And that Narayan expands again as Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Aniruddha. That's called Chaturvyuha. This is really detailed stuff. Yeah. This is not going on in this material world. This is going on in Vaikuntha, the spiritual sky, where there's no death, no old age. This is all going on there. Then that Sankarshan in the second Chaturvyuha expands into the material world, or to create the material world. Therefore, he's called an avatar. Avatar means someone who descends from the spiritual world to this material world, right? Avatar, one who descends. So the first avatar into this, to create the whole material world, is Mahavishnu. Yakaranaran Majale Bhajati Sma Yoga Nidramananda Jagadanda Saroma Kupa Adhara Shakti Mamalam Parasramurti Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Sabhajami. That Mahavishnu is an expansion of Krishna, and he lies down within the causal ocean, and from his body all the universes are coming. Jivanti Loma Vilaja Jagadandanata Vishnu Mahansi Yasya Kalani Shesho Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. And the duration of one of the universe, of Brahma, who's the head of the universe and whose duration of life lasts as long as this universe, is just as long as a breath of Mahavishnu. Yeah. So that Mahavishnu, that first avatar, became Advaita Charya to associate, to come along to help Lord Caitanya preach Krishna consciousness. Bhaktavataram. Bhaktakyam means, this is a little tricky, it means the pure devotee, and then Bhakta Shakti. Bhakta Shakti. Bhakta Shakti is the energy of the devotee. There's, the Vedas say, this is complex stuff, I'm telling you. Remember the Rubik's Cube. This is like the Rubik's Cube. Krishna, the Vedas say, Parasya Shaktir Vivadai Vishuyate Swabhaviki Jnana Balakriyacha. That God has multifarious energies. He's not a simpleton. He does many, many, many wonderful things. He expands himself, and that's his personal expansion is called a svangsha. Svangsha means his own anksha, his own. And then there's vibhinangsha. Vibhinangsha means the separated anshas, the separated living, the separated energy. That's the living entities, you and me. And then there's Hladini Shakti. The Shakti has Shakti Tattva, just like we're worshiping Radha Krishna, or some people worship Sitaram or Lakshmi Narayana, because that Lakshmi or Radharani or Sita, that's a special category of Krishna's energy called Hladini Shakti. Different than you, different from Krishna. So all these Parasya Shaktis, and then the Vibhidangshas of the living entities, and then there's the material world also is also his different kind of his energy. So there's all this is called the science of God, and it includes everything, because everything is coming from God. This is and this is kind of mind-boggling, because when you look and try to study and understand from the Vedic literature who is God and what is God's characteristics and qualities, it becomes very confusing. For example, if you read in the Shishopanishad, there's the aphorism, the tad ejati tad naijati, tad dure tad vantike, tarantarasya sarvasya tarus, you know this one? Tad ejati tad naijati. That means the Supreme Personality walks, but he doesn't walk. It sounds like we're jugglery, right? He walks and he doesn't walk. How can that be? He's near and he's far away as well. He's within everything and he's outside of everything. This sounds like this is, and then in the beginning of that, the Ishopanishad, it says, Om Purnam Adap Purnamidam Purnamudachate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vishishyate. It says, the personality of Godhead is perfect and complete. Think about it. And because he is completely perfect, all emanations from him are perfectly equipped as complete wholes. And because he is completely perfect, even though so many complete units emanate from him, you know what happens?
Still, it remains complete.
He remains complete. Yeah, where do you find anything in this world where you take a pie and you give up pieces of the pie, and after you've given up all the pieces of the pie, what do you have left? Zero, right? Zero. But with Krishna, he's emanating all these different kinds of energy, beginning with Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam, Lord Nityananda, Bhakta Avataram, Advaitacharya, Bhaktakyam, Srivas Thakur, and Namami Bhakta Shaktikam, and Gadadhar Pandit. He's the embodiment of the Shakti, Vladini Shakti of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So these 5 truths include all the energies going on in the spiritual world. Panchatattvatmakam Krishna. These teachings are given very detailed understanding in this book called The Teachings of Lord Caitanya.
Yeah.
So, it's common in the world that we have kind of a simplistic and stereotyped and shallow understanding of God. And even though he's the most complex and wonderful being, and because of that distorted understanding, it's easy for us to reject or ignore him. I don't know if you know, has anybody been in debate? In debate, they have something called, have you heard this? The straw man argument. Have you heard of that? So in debate, the straw man argument is, we have two different positions on a particular subject. So I misrepresent your argument, make it, very weak, so that I can easily defeat it. Just like a straw man, you can push it over. That's called a straw man argument. It's a logical fallacy. So similarly within this world, because no one or very few people take the time to really fully understand what are the nature, the details, and the complex position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we can easily ignore him. He doesn't exist. Or he might be there, but he's not relevant to our world. So just to remedy that, Lord Caitanya came along with his associates, including today we're recognizing Srivas Thakur, Srivas Pandit. So we spend hours and hours studying things like computers, or the stock market, politics, sports teams, business methods, medicine, and so on. But even if we develop some very good knowledge of those areas, without knowledge of God, whatever progress we've made will be lost at the time of death. Because those kinds of knowledge only have to do with the body. So it's like taking a lot of energy. I don't know if some people take vacations in Florida. Have you gone to Florida? If you go in Florida, there's nice beaches. And you see on the beaches, some people take a great deal of effort, in making sand castles, right? And they're beautiful, beautiful though. Sometimes they'll make sculptures of animals and fish and things all like that. But how long will those sand castles last? How long? The tide comes in, right? Every 12 hours, the tide comes in and it's finished. So we know that this body that we have, even though it's a human body, we know it's going to be finished shortly. It may be in 1 day, 10 days, hopefully not, a year, 5 years, 10 years, that's very shortly. It's going to be done. So the Vedic literature recommends that the purpose of the human form of life is to spend your mental faculties, your intellectual faculties, to try to understand the science of God. Science of God. It begins in Bhagavad Gita, but the detailed understanding of the science of God is amazing. And it was taught by Lord Caitanya to his associates. And one of those associates is Srivas Thakur. And so if you really want to get down to the purposes of life and understanding God in detail, you got to study it. It's not easy. Now, it's not possible to understand God simply by study alone. Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita, you know this. Naham Veda, na tapasa, na danena, na chijina. It's not by study of the Vedas, Naham Veda, na tapasa, not by austerity, tapasa means austerity, na danena, not by giving to charity, na chejya, not just by worship. How can you know God? How can you know God? Bhaktya shakya, only by devotional service, engaging in devotional service. So Lord Caitanya specifically came to this world to teach how to perform devotional service. And one of his main persons he was involved with in this Panchatattva was Srivas Thakur. That's Bhaktakyam. Bhaktakyam. You can get a little trick with this because Srivas Thakur is an incarnation of a particular important person that many of you know. Who's that? Hey, who said that? Yeah, Narad Muni. And Narad Muni is empowered with Bhakta Shakti. But just like when Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita to Arjun said, wait a minute. You said that you just told me that immediately you spoke this same science to the sun god Vivaswan, and Vivaswan was living millions of years ago. How's that? And Krishna said, many births both you and I have taken. I remember them, you don't. So Prabhupada writes in the purport that Arjun was also there. Yeah, he didn't remember. Because when Krishna comes with his incarnations, his associates also like to come with him and participate and do service with his with him in his pastimes. That's their job. So Krishna comes, and Narad Muni is an eternal associate. So he comes in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. In Krishna's pastimes, he was brahmachari. In Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, he's householder, and he has 3 brothers. You know that? Yeah. So then Srivas Thakur, most people they've heard about Krishna. Much fewer have heard about Lord Chaitanya. Hardly anybody knows about Srivas Thakur. So we'll talk a little bit about Srivas Thakur today. He's the representative of a pure devotee. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, when Lord Chaitanya came, so many devotees came and helped him in his mission. He said, Bharata bhumite hoila manushya janmaja, janma sartaka kori parapu upakar. He said, those people who are born, Bharat bhumite, what's that? Is it?
It's not India, it was entire.
It could be the world. Janma sartaka kori para upakar. It's your job, he said. It's your job to do welfare, to do beneficial work for the world. And the most beneficial work is to help people become free from life and death, from birth and death. Yeah. So, Bharata bhumite hoila manushya janmaja. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, and when he came, in his early pastimes, he was doing scholarship. He had his own school, and he was teaching his students about grammar and nyaya logic. Then, at the age of 16, he went to Gaya, and he was initiated by his spiritual master, Ishwar Puri. This is very significant because even though he's an incarnation, or actually Krishna himself, he still accepted a guru. We were talking before about in the Vedas, there's so many literatures and verses and shlokas, and it's hard to understand them on our own. Practically, it's impossible to understand the Vedas by your own self, by your own speculative methods. It's impossible to understand God in that way. Therefore, a name for God is Adhokshaja. Have you heard that name before? Adhokshaja. Aksha means eyes, and Ja means coming from the eyes, or born from the eyes. Knowledge coming from the material senses, it does not approach God. It's not possible. You cannot do that. Why? Because God is Adhokshaja. He's inconceivable. is beyond our limited faculties to understand by our speculative methods. He is possible to understand, though, if we receive that information from a bona fide representative of God, like Srivas Thakur, Srivas Pandit. Therefore, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Tad vidhi, if you want to know about God, if you want to know that understanding, pranipatene pariprashnena seveya, upadekshanti te jnanam, jnaninas tattvadarshina. You must approach a spiritual teacher, a guru. You must. Tad vijnanartam sa gurum eva abhiganchya. It's required. You can't approach God by speculation, thinking it might be this way or it might be that way. No, you can't do that. It's not possible. It's only by pariprashnena, inquiring, hearing from, and then what's the next thing? Sevaya, doing service. So Lord Caitanya, he showed, like I said, that he was showing by his example how to understand God. So the first thing he did when he went to his spiritual master, he was initiated by his spiritual master, Ishvara Puri. And his spiritual master told him, you always chant keep the names of God, the holy names of God within your throat. As soon as he came back, he went to Gaya, which is down a little bit down the Ganges from Bengal. He came back to Mayapur, which is this town. And you know where he went? First place he went? After returning? No. He went to Srivas Thakur's house. That's the first place he went after. And you know, after he was initiated by his spiritual master, he was feeling great bliss because his spiritual master had given him this chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So he was in the mood of distributing love of God to everyone. Rupa Goswami said that. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Kodachaya. You, oh Lord Caitanya, are the most munificent incarnation of Krishna. Why? When Krishna came to this earth, he brought with him a storehouse of love of God, but it was sealed. Not that many people got the opportunity to develop love of Krishna when Krishna was here. But when Lord Caitanya came, along with his associates, including Srivas Pandit, he broke the seal and plundered the context just to be able to distribute love of God to anyone and anyone who would take it. So as soon as he got back from Gaya, he came to Srivas Thakur's house and he was giving out Krishna Bhakti, Krishna Prema to anyone who would come. So, you know, they brought his mother here to come. You know, what's the Lord Chaitanya's mom? Sachi Devi. So he was giving out love of God to everyone. And then at Srivas Thakur's house. And then Lord Chaitanya said, no, she doesn't qualify. What is that? Why? Because she was his mom? Why did? Because she had criticized Advaita Acharya. Did you know that? She criticized Advaita Acharya because Lord Chaitanya had an older brother named Vishnu, and he used to visit. Advaita Acharya had two houses. One house was there in Mayapur, Navadvip, and one was in Shantipur. So close by, and he used to go over there and hear Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita classes. And at some point, he renounced his family and left. So Sachi Devi blamed Advaita Acharya for that. And Lord Chaitanya knew. So he said, any person who offends a Vaishnava cannot get Krishna Prema. So anyway, this is a big deal, right? This is the mother of God. It's a big deal. So anyway, Advaita Acharya came and he heard this talking and he thought he saw Mother Sachi fainted in ecstasy. And the associates of Lord Chaitanya, take this opportunity, touch Advaita Acharya's feet. So that way she got relieved from the offense. And then Lord Chaitanya gave Sachi Devi love of God. Very, very instructive, very instructive, very instructive. So then right after this, You know what Lord Chaitanya did at this time in his pastimes? It's showing us how to be a devotee. You know what he did? Srivas Thakur every evening, every night invited him and all the associates to do what? Sankirtan, yeah. Every single night. Not just Sunday. Every single night. And and went on for a year. 7 days a week, a year, right? And you can think, well, this is God. I mean, doesn't he have something better to do? No. And not just God, but his associates. Nityananda, Advaita, Gadadhar, Srivas, so many other devotees also with him every single night. How showing us how important the chanting of the holy names are for our spiritual development. This is amazing. So these devotees were doing that every night, but because there were some people in the area who were causing trouble, they would come and cause disturbance. So they would usually close the doors. You know this? I mean, think about this is how you invite people to your home, right? Sometimes, your family, your friends, or your guests, or your neighbors, or something. Every night? Every night? No. Maybe once a week at most. Yeah. Right? But every night, Srivas Thakur, as showing how to be a devotee, with Lord Chaitanya, is inviting every night for this Harinam Kirtan, which is going on for hours. Because Lord Chaitanya taught, Nama Chintamani Krishnas Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purno Shodho Nityamukto Abhinatvam Nama Nami. The name of God and God are the same. There's no difference. Purno means it's full. Purno is full. Shuddho as pure. Nityamukto and as transcendental as God Himself. Yeah. So he's showing that the importance of engaging in the Yuga Dharma, of chanting the holy names regularly for everybody. This is the science of God. So, Srivas Thakur was there. He as Narad Muni, and the chanting was going on. And people knew that, and some people wanted to come there and participate, but the doors were closed. And there was one Brahmin by the name of, what was his name? Gopal Chapel. Gopal is like a name for Krishna. Chapel means Gopal Chapel. And he was a little bit ticked off. But they were having some fun inside, and I'm not allowed to go in. And in this world, the reason we are here in this world of darkness, tamasima, jyotigam, the world of darkness, is because we have envy. Yes, this is the sad and honest truth. Me, I have it, and you all have it too. Yes, you all have it too. But Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita, Icha Dvesha Samudena, because we have some envy, we tend, somebody else has got something, we want to bring them down to our position. Oh, isn't it? I mean, we try to control it as much as we can. That's the tendency of everyone in this material world is like that. Icha Dvesha. That's you don't go on your computer and then it comes up. Fatal flaw, isn't it? Doesn't it happen like that? Fatal flaw. It's everything falls apart. Or I was talking about this yesterday. If in old time plays, like in Greek tragedies, the players, each of the important characters would have a fatal flaw. So this is our fatal flaw, that in this material world, all of us were thinking that we want to be the center to a certain greater or lesser extent. And we want to, and the fact that Krishna is in the center, we don't like that. So sometimes we because of that, we shun or get away from Krishna. It's a little difficult to fight with Krishna directly because he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So sometimes it's much easier to be envious and to criticize his devotees. Right? It's not as dangerous, right? We think it's not as dangerous. So Gopal Chapala, he was like that. He had that same disease that we have. So he decided, well, this Srivas Thakur, that he's having this kirtans at his house every night. Well, you know what? I'm going to bring him down to my level. So what did he do? That night, he was irritated. He went outside Srivas Thakur's house, and he put out some paraphernalia right outside his house. So it looked like Srivas Thakur was a Shakta. You know what a Shakta is?
No.
What is a Shakta? Those from Bengal know Shakta. They're worshippers of Kali, goddess Kali. Worshippers of goddess Kali. Some people say, well, it doesn't matter who you worship. Doesn't matter if you take anybody of Shakti. Well, that's not from Bhagavad Gita. So because those people who worship Shakti, Durga, generally they're people who want to eat meat, drink wine, etc., etc. Because it's allowed in the Shakta worship. They worship, they offer a goat the dark moon night once a month, and they whisper into the ear of the goat, Mamsha, means, okay, a mantra means, in this life, you're the goat, I'm the human, and I can kill you. But in your next life, you can become the human, I'll be the goat, and you can kill me. Mamsa. Yeah, anyway, so in the society there at that time, it was very contrasting than it is today. Just the fact that somebody would think that Srivas Thakur was a worshiper of Kali was a big insult. Isn't it interesting? It is interesting. So Srivas Thakur comes out the next morning, and there was a pot of wine there. Yeah, you can also use a pot of wine and some other stuff. So he came out, and some gentlemen from the neighborhood came, and they said, "Oh," and Srivas Thakur says, "Yeah, can't you see? Oh, I'm a worshiper of Kali, Bhavani. I'm a worshiper of Bhavani." He wasn't disturbed at all, not disturbed at all. And the gentleman from the community, they could understand, oh, somebody's trying to play dirty tricks with Srivas Thakur. So they just brought somebody to clean it up. Well, that Gopal Chapala, he didn't get his his purpose served. But right after that happened, you know what happened? He got leprosy. He got leprosy. Why did he get leprosy? Because he was purposely trying to offend Srivas Thakur. So when you get leprosy, is contagious. So he had to leave the village and went off to by the river and was staying there. One time, Lord Chaitanya was walking by, and Lord Chaitanya was there, and Gopal Chapala said, "Oh, Lord Chaitanya, you're the most merciful. I've heard that you're the most merciful person, the most merciful incarnation. Please deliver me." Yeah. So you know what Lord Chaitanya said? He's the most merciful. Krishna Prem, he's the most merciful. What did he say?
No.
I'm sorry. In delivering you, he understood that what he wanted delivered was from his miserable condition, but he wasn't willing to admit that he had caused problems or tried to cause problems to Srivas Thakur. So he said, "Sorry, can't help it." Lord Chaitanya, can't help it. This is Navadvip. Then Lord Chaitanya took sannyas. Years later, when Lord Chaitanya came back to Navadvip, Gopal Chapala approached him again, but this time it was a little more in a humble mood. So Lord Chaitanya at that time said, if you offer your humble apology to Srivas Thakur, then you can become free from these offenses, and you'll be okay, and you'll actually develop spiritually. So he did that. So this is the potency of Srivas Thakur and his associates. Usually, we're in this material world, we suffer from different diseases, or from too hot or too cold, or from mental disturbances or from bodily problems. Most of that is from karma. You have a past karma, and really it's very difficult to escape that. But the suffering that one gets from offending a devotee or offending an aparat is called, Lord Chaitanya called it a mad elephant. Mad elephant, hati. Baby hati is an elephant, right? Because if you're trying to grow a nice garden, anybody have a nice garden here?
Yeah.
And somebody brings their pet elephant into your garden, what's going to happen? It's bad, right? So your spiritual life, our spiritual lives, would be destroyed by this. So these are some of the things that Srivas Thakur, his activity showed. Another time, another Brahmin came and to the gate of Srivas Thakur. He was holding this Sankirtan every night, and he also wasn't letting. He got mad. So when Lord Chaitanya came out, he said, "Well, you're the person who's trying to organize this." He said, "I curse you." The Brahmin cursed him. "I curse you," cursing Lord Chaitanya, "that you will never have any material happiness." Think about it, think about it, think about it. So you know what Lord Chaitanya did? Haribol. 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 The material happiness will bind you to the material world. So he took it as a benediction. He took it as a benediction. No material happiness. Srimati Kunti Devi said, Janma Ishwarya Shruta Shivir Edamana Badapuman Naiva Hati Abidatum by Twama Kinchana Gochara. She said that in this world, people become very attached to their home, their wealth, their beauty, their education, their knowledge, etc. And because of that, they forget about God. Because of their material attachments, our material attachments. So Lord Chaitanya, he said, "Oh, no material happiness, very nice. Acha, very good." So one point to know is that anybody who hears this story about Lord Chaitanya and the Brahmin who cursed him, you know what happened? By the mercy of Srivas Thakur, you won't be subject to any curses. You won't get any effects from any curses, just so you know. Just so you know that. So Srivas Thakur, they say that Lord Chaitanya was like a big tree. And there were there was the trunk of the tree is Lord Chaitanya himself, and Lord Nityananda and Advaita are just coming. The roots are 9 sannyasi disciples like Paramananda Puri, Keshava Bharati, Brahmananda Puri. And then there's very many branches of the tree of Lord Chaitanya. And that tree spreads all over the world, east to west, to north and south. ISKCON, the Hare Krishna movement, is one of the branches of Lord Chaitanya tree. There, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there are 90 branches. All the names of the devotees who are developing those branches, 90 different branches of the branches, and then there's sub-branches and twigs and all. And you know what the first branch mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita? Any idea? Any guesses? Yeah! Srivas Thakur is the first branch. He's the first. So we say, Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Jai Advaita Gadadhar, Srivas Adi. What does that mean, Srivas Adi? What does that mean?
Srivas and others.
Srivas, Adi can mean etc. It can mean beginning with.
Yeah.
Beginning with Srivas. He's the, Lord Chaitanya, Nityananda, Advaita, they're predominators, even though they're also servants of Lord Chaitanya. Everyone is a servant of Krishna. Ekala Ishwar Krishna Ashabhrita. Everybody is a servant of Krishna. Even his expansions, like Balaram or Nityananda, Advaita, they're in the Vishnu Tattva category. Gadadhar is in this category of Shakti Tattva. Remember? The science of God. But Srivas Thakur is the representative of you and I, us. So therefore, he's the representative of all devotees, and therefore they say Srivas Adi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Gaur Bhaktivinoda means all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya, and Srivas starts with him. So he's the first branch of the Chaitanya tree, And if we can, how can we follow Srivas? How can we follow him? Participate in Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement. Have chanting going on every night, or at least sometimes. At least sometimes in the house. And sometimes it happens that when there's chanting going on, that's even the host, well, they have other business to do. Does it happen? Or they have to check on their phone. Does it happen? Yeah. So, but Srivas Thakur was completely involved and absorbed in the chanting along with Lord Chaitanya. So much so that when somebody commented, what is Srivas doing for his work? What is his job? What does he do? And so Lord Chaitanya said, yeah, really, I don't know. So we went to see Srivas Thakur, what are you doing for your job? This is interesting. He said, no, I just take whatever Krishna gives. I take whatever Krishna gives. I don't worry about it. Because, so Krishna says it in Bhagavad Gita, Ananya Chidyastomam Yejana Pariyapasate. What is it? Yoga Kshema Bahamyaham. If you surrender to me, he'll take care of you. And so Srivas Thakur said, well, you know what? If I go hungry for 3 days, okay, I'll die. I don't care. And Lord Chaitanya said, no. You're my devotee. I will personally take care of you. Don't worry. Don't talk like that. I'll personally take care of you. Yoga Kshema Dhahamyaham. I will personally take care of you. So, we have so many businesses, our family businesses, our occupational businesses, everything, so many things. But the most important business for us in this human form of life is to develop our God consciousness, our Krishna consciousness, so that at the end of life, today is the Independence Day, right? Yeah. People talk about independence. So people talk about freedom. Freedom so we don't have to wear a mask, right? That's or freedom that you can smoke a certain kind of cigarette. These kind of, is that really freedom? I'm not trying to minimize, but the freedom that we have in the material world is very, very minimal, very small. But by becoming Krishna conscious, developing love of Krishna, you can enjoy full freedom. And the most important freedom one can experience is freedom from birth, death, old age, and disease. How can you do that? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. So let freedom ring with the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra from East Coast to West Coast, all over the world and all over the universe. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. God. It's on sale today. $6 if you take one Science of God. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, VishnuGada Prabhu. Wonderful discourse on Srivas Thakur, as well as the Panchatattva. Thank you very much. If anyone has any questions about the pastimes VishnuGada Prabhu spoke about, please talk to them afterwards. We'd like to give a special welcome today to this very Bhagavad Prabhu, our temple president, is here with us. Please raise your hands to give a very warm welcome. Haribol. He's going to lead us in our next RT Kirtan. Bhagavad Prabhu is very happy to be with us. He'll be with us for the next 2 weeks. To the 14th. So please take an opportunity to speak with him today after the Kirtan. Couple of quick announcements before the RT. First is that people have been coming up and asking, is there Snani Yatra next week or the next week? So Snani Yatra will not be happening in July. Gita Nagari Rath Yatra, which are Snati Yatra correlates to, Gita Nagari Rath Yatra is not happening this year. So they canceled Gita Nagari Rath Yatra, therefore we're not going to have Snati Yatra here in Philadelphia until September, when our Rath Yatra will take place. Hopefully, it looks very optimistic that our Rath Yatra will take place in September. That's part of the lead up, the 2 weeks before the Snati Yatra happens. So, a couple of people were asking about that, so I just want to make it clear that no Snati Yatra next week. The other thing is tomorrow is Ekadasi. It's a wonderful time to advance in Krishna consciousness, go a little deeper, and fast for beans and grains, do a little austerity, but increase your hearing and chanting during that time. One great way to increase your hearing and chanting, you can join our Bhagavad class every morning. It starts at 7:50, 7 days a week. We have class. It's on our Philadelphia Zoom channel. It's the same channel for all our classes. It's in our newsletter. So please tune in. Even if you haven't tuned in, please come in for our Ekadasi that we previously started. We have about 15 to 20 people daily that come. I'd like to thank our Sunday Feast sponsor. They've asked to remain anonymous, but they were very generous to sponsor today's feast. And requested the blessings of the Vaishnavas. So for anonymous Prabhu, we're going to raise our hands and chant Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Now, it rained earlier, but it became sunny, so we're still going to serve outside. The ground is a little bit wet. We got picnic tables out there for you to sit on. Also, if you want to stay dry, we have a couple tarps that you can purchase for Mother Priya at the front desk. There's only 2 left, so if you want to pick up with your family, they're not that expensive, so you can sit out with your family on the grass. Now, last thing I'll say before the article begins is that we're doing we're asking, this is something we really need everybody's cooperation on, because we're coming back from COVID, we're going to kind of turn a new leaf. And we're going to do better than maybe we were before. And sometimes we have no habits like that. It's not that good or bad, we just want to try to change things just a little bit. So when people came in today during the class, we had a couple people at the front door. We requested that instead of coming up during class and taking darshan, that you can offer your obeisances from behind. I mean, from out here in the audience. And that way, it doesn't interrupt the flow. Because if you have a large group of people that come through, people are in the audience trying to listen, it can become a distraction. If we're in the RT, people can come up. So we started at 4:30. We're going to get in.
प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास प्रभुपाद श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोविंदा वृंदावन धाम की जय, नवनीत धाम की जय, मायापुर धाम की जय, जगन्नाथ पुरी लीला जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा महारानी श्री गौरीता श्री श्री राधा देवी तो सुरे नमामि नमामि जय संकीर्तन जय नाम संकीर्तन जप की जय फैशन जय ओ
Hare Hare.
ISKCON
Jai.
all words to be simple. Words to be simple. All words to be simple. All words to be simple.
Yes. Hare Krishna. I'd like to thank Prabhu so much for that ecstatic kirtan. And thank VishnuGada Prabhu for that wonderful lecture on Sri ISKCON. To all the devotees who are coming out. This is maybe the fifth week, fourth, fifth week that we've been here, opened up again. And gradually, more people are coming back. So please tell your friends, fellow devotees, family members, feel free to come on back. In different parts of the program, we started at 4:30, and a lot of people are accustomed to coming at 6 o'clock, because that's the time during our COVID hours. We started opening at 6 o'clock. But feel free to come